Hello, welcome to another video by Moxie Marine. In this video, I want to discuss more information about the General Motors AC Delco ignition module, the Marine version, and explain some more details about it, and also how to apply it to other General Motors engines other than the one it was intended for. So, first of all, I want to show that the part comes in a box. This is AC Delco D1965A. That's the AC Delco number. The General Motors part number is 19418839. This is the module that came out of the box. It's got a General Motors logo on it, which you need to look for. And on the back, it's got the part number again, 19418839. So, as you've seen in my other videos, this is the only module I will sell. I will not sell any other knockoffs, any other manufacturers. I got burned by another version or another brand, and I will not go back down that road. It took me about 6 months to sort out some issues with 5 different customers because the modules were not working properly. So I'm not even going to discuss that much more other than to say that I will only provide the AC Delco part number. I'll also say that I have a arrangement or a deal with a General Motors dealer. And to the best of my knowledge, myself and one other customer is the only ones he's selling to. I'm buying them wholesale. Even my wholesale cost is close to $100. So these are not cheap. I don't know if you can get them somewhere else. You might be able to. I know I've got a pretty good price for them, so that's where I get mine. And also, I do not sell these separate from my kits. I need to keep them to keep for my kits because I have a limited supply. And I buy them in bulk, but I don't buy them in that many quantities, so I want to keep the ones I have for my kids. All right, having said that, you can buy other modules. This happens to be a car and truck module. And if you notice, it looks identical to it. Same size, shape, and everything, because it fits in the same type distributor. But this is a car truck module, and it has a different curve than the General Motors module, which I'll discuss that in a little bit. But so let's go ahead and talk about the curve now. So this sheet here is an excerpt from the Delco GM Delco EST manual, the instruction manual for the module, or for the entire ignition system. So this module has 3 curves built into it. It has a curve for the 4-cylinder 3-liter engine, the V6 4.3-liter engine, and the V8 5.0 and 5.7 engines. Now, if you notice, there's really 4 charts here, or 4 different tables, 1, 2, 3, 4. But really, there's only 3 differences between them. I'll explain in a second. So, and I've done some research in another video about a year ago or 2 ago, and I did some research and found out that this module somehow it knows what engine it's working off of because of the signal from the distributor. No matter what the RPM or anything, it'll know that you're running a 4-cylinder, a 6-cylinder, or an 8-cylinder based on the shape of the curve coming from the pickup inside the distributor. So there's really nothing you can do to mess that up, which is a good thing because it means when you install it, it knows automatically which of these curves to use based on which engine you put it in. There's nothing you can do to change that. You can't tell it to use the 4-cylinder curve on a 6-cylinder engine no more than you can use a 6-cylinder curve on a 8-cylinder engine. All right, so let's talk about these curves. So you can see that the 3-liter 4-cylinder engine curve has what's called an initial setting of -2. That initial setting is what you set the distributor timing to by rotating the distributor. You loosen the distributor hold down clamp. Use the set timing tool, which is this, let's see if I can find it. I think I have one right here. See ya. So here's a set timing, that's my set timing tool. It's got an alligator clip on it for clipping onto a plus 12 volts. And then this tool here slides into the distributor, goes in this plug here. And when that alligator clip is connected to 12 volts, what it does, internally this module, the timing curve in here is disabled. All this curve is no longer active when that timing tool is engaged. So you can rev it pretty much any RPM you want to reasonably, say from 600 up to say 1500, and the timing won't change with that tool installed. So that's when you use this initial setting and you set the distributor, rotating it, and you get -2, or you set it so you have -2 with a timing light on the timing marks. So you have a stationary mark and a moving mark. And I'll refer to other videos on how to do that. But so So what you do is you set the initial timing, the distributor to the initial timing, and there's initial on the 4.3 V6, the 5.0, 5.7. So with that timing tool installed and connected to 12 volts, you just rotate the distributor until you have -2 on the 4-cylinder. You'll have 1 degree on the V6, and you have 10 on a 5.0, and you have 12 on a 5.7. All right, and then and like I said, it doesn't really matter what RPM, because the RPM function of the module is being disabled with that timing tool installed. And it's really quite simple how that works. I've discussed that. I'll put a link to another video where I discuss how that works in the description of this video. But I want to repeat that here. So once you set the timing with the timing tool, and once you remove the timing tool and take it off 12 volts, then the module will go back to using these charts, these curves and these charts internally. The curves are built into the electronics of this module. So for the, as you can see, for a 4-cylinder 3-liter, at 600 RPM, it's going to go to 8 degrees. On the V6 at 600, it's going to 18 degrees. 5.0 at 600 is going to jump up to 19 degrees. And on the 5.7, it's going to jump up to 21 degrees, right? So, so obviously, you can't set the timing unless you use the timing tool. Because if you try to set the timing to this, say, initial -2, and the module's adding the 8 degrees, then what you're really going to be doing is setting this to, let's see what we do, either 10 degrees or 6 degrees. I don't know, I'm not quite sure about the math, but you're either going to be +2 or -2 from that number there, and then everything else is going to be off also. So you don't want to do that. So you want to make sure you use the timing tool and set it for the initial value, -2, 1, so on, with the timing tool connected. All right. Once you remove the timing tool, then the module will take over, and this curve will be what you get. When you rev the engine, it'll go from 8, and when it hits 4,600 RPM, it'll go to 21 degrees. Okay, that's how it works normally. And this module is designed for certain engines. The Vortec engines from 1996 and up on the V8s and V6s. And there was never a Vortec engine for the 3-liter. It was all, I don't think the technology changed on the engine through the years. It stayed the same. But so the module is designed for specific engines, all right? So let's go ahead. This is probably the most important part of this video. I'm going to discuss how you apply this to other engines. So you can use this on a 1995 or earlier non-Vortec engine if you know how to match the timing curves to the curve that is supposed to run that engine. All right. So, and when you set timing, what you're really after, what's more important, is what's called the total timing. Total timing is the maximum timing when you're under full throttle, running down the body of water, and with the throttle at full throttle, and that's what your maximum timing should be, and that's called total timing. It's the combination of the mechanical setting of the distributor and the timing that's added by the module, the curve inside the module, and you end up with a value called total timing. All right. So if we had a 5.7 V8, our total timing, as you can see, by the time it hits 2,400 RPM, it's at 30 degrees, and it doesn't get any higher than 30 from that point on. So your total timing of the module on a 5.7 V8, as long as you set it for 12 degrees initial, is 30 degrees, all right? So that's your total timing for that particular engine. Now, if you notice, the 5.0, the total timing is 28 degrees starting at 2,400, and it's 10 degrees initial. So if you pay attention, you'll notice that every one of these 5.0 numbers is 2 less than the 5.7. So what that means is these two curves are the same. These charts are technically the same. It's just one is set for initial timing 2 degrees less than the other. That was set for 10, that's set for 12. So you're getting the same curve, you're just starting from a different initial point. So that's how the 5.0 and 5.7 work. And if you'll notice, the 4.3 is drastically different. It jumps from 1 to 18, whereas this jumps from 10 to 19. So that's only a 9-degree increase from there, but that's a 17-degree increase there. So those two curves are very different, and you can't use them interchangeably, and it won't let you anyway. So, so let's start talking about how they apply this to other engines. So like I was saying, your max timing on this 5.7 is 30 degrees, all right? So let's take this chart here. So this chart is from a Thunderbolt ignition. It says Mercury Marine 5.0, 5.0 LX, 5.7, 350 Magnum, MIE 5.0, 5.7 liter. Okay, so this is the timing curve in that system with the Thunderbolt. I don't remember if it was a Thunderbolt 5 or 4. I can't remember, but it doesn't matter. So if this happens to be the timing curve for your boat, your old Thunderbolt system, what it says is you look at this chart. So let's look at the middle curve. So if you go up here to the top, by the time you hit right around, is that 2200? Yeah, so at 2200, when you come up, your max timing is right here on this line right here. So if we follow that line across, I just missed it. Let's see, let's do it again. So that line right there, follow that line to right there, it's there, and that is 22 degrees. So that's 22 degrees total timing from this chart. However, if you notice, it says minus initial timing flywheel degrees, okay? So on the V8s, I believe these V8s, they had added 10 degrees. Your initial setting was 10 degrees based mechanical timing on your distributor. So that means you got to add 10 degrees to this value. Well, that was 20, let's see, what would we say? It was 22. So if you had 10, that would be 32 degrees total. 20, there's 20, let's see, it was 22 to right there. Yeah, 22. So if we add the 10 degree setting that the distributors set base, this 22 plus 10 is 32 degrees. So this particular engine, based on this chart, was getting 32 degrees total timing. All right. So if we go back to this chart, and it's a V8, and we want 32 degrees, that's 2 degrees higher than this number right here. So all we have to do, set this from 12 to 14. If you add 2 to that, you add 2 to this. So you set the timing, your base timing at 14 degrees, and from that point on, this entire chart will match this other page at full throttle. All right, I hope you understand that. So let's look at another example. So here's a V6. I know this is the Thunderbolt 4 V6, 4.3 V6. So if we look at the chart, and it looks like the midpoint of these two is approximately right there, coming across here. That's about 14 degrees, I would say. Yeah, pretty much 14 degrees, all right? But it says, the advanced curve chart shows 14 degree spark advance at 2,500 RPM. That's the total timing. I mean, that's the max timing that the module will add to the distributor. But it says add 8 degrees before top dead center initial timing for 22. 8 plus 14 is 22. So the 8 degrees is your initial distributor setting on the Thunderbolt 4. It's on your placard on your air cleaner or wherever on your engine somewhere. It'll say your initial time is 8 degrees with a timing light. So if you take the 8, add the total from this chart of 22, you get, excuse me, let me see what that was. No, I'm sorry, it's 14 from the chart, added 8, usually 22 degrees total spark advance, okay? That's with a Thunderbolt 4 in a V6 before 1996. So, if we want 22 degrees, we come to the V6 chart, and we notice we've got 25 degrees as our max timing, total timing on this system. So all that means is we have to subtract 3 degrees from everything else. So we'd set our initial timing -2. 1 minus 3 would be -2. If we set that to -2, our max timing will be 22 degrees. So that's how you apply the timing of the Delco EST to other engines. Excuse me. So that's 2 examples I've given you. There are other examples. So what you have to do is, let's say you have an old engine, and let's take, for example, a 454. I've done a little bit of research. I know that 454 is like 28 degrees of total timing, 28 to 30 degrees total timing. Well, I'm going to start on the low side of 28. So if I go to the, here I got 28 right here. That's already matching. So if I want my total timing to be 28, and I've already got a module of 28, all I have to do is set it for 10 degrees. Regardless of what the old timing mark on the engine was, that was with Thunderbolt. You know, you don't apply that anymore. You apply this. So to get 28 degrees total timing in a 454, you would set it for 10 degrees. And that might match the 10 degree initial setting for the old Thunderbolt system. I think it might. I think it does. But that's just coincidence. So you'll set a 454 for 10 degrees initial timing, the initial value here with the timing tool, and you'll end up with 28 degrees total timing. All right? So that's a 454. Again, if you have a different engine, some other engine, if you can find the factory curve, get your factory chart and figure out what the factory timing was, it'll tell you what the total timing was. It'll tell you what the distributor adds, or excuse me, what the module adds. Then you add the initial timing setting. They use your total. Come over here, find out what well, first of all, you find out what size engine you got. If it's a V6, you use this chart. V8, you use these two. And then whatever your number is off from the max timing on that table, you just add or subtract to get your initial timing. It's very simple. All right, I think that hopefully that covers the how to change the ignition timing from say a Vortec to any other engine. Trying to see if there's anything else I need to say about this. Again, let me talk about car and truck modules real quick. So if I had a car or truck module, they don't have a curve like this. What they do, and they're kind of the opposite of marine systems. So on a car or truck module, it'll be flat. It'll be 0 all the way to about here, about 1500. And at 1500, it'll jump straight up to about 13 degrees, somewhere right about here. So it'll almost be a square. It'll be 0, jump straight up to about 13 degrees at 1500, and it'll be 13 degrees flat all the way across. All right, so the way you set timing on a car or truck is you don't use the timing tool. As a matter of fact, you disconnect the 12 volts from the module, and that 0 timing right here is when you would set your rotate distributor and get the timing set, because the module's not adding anything, but that's why it's 0 from here to here. You can't rev it up past 1500, then you'll mess up you have to set the timing below, say, 1000 RPM, so you're not up there in this 1500 where it would switch over, okay? Then, once the harness is connected to the module, well, actually let's use this one since it's a car truck module. Once the harness is connected to the module sends out a reference pulse on the R terminal. It's just a second from the right. That reference goes to the computer. The computer picks that R terminal signal up. It's a square wave, 5 volt square wave. It delays that signal and sends it back on the E terminal, which is your rightmost wire. And the module then fires off that E signal, and it's a delay system, okay? I've already discussed this at length in the other video. Again, the link is in the description of this video on how that works. But on car and truck modules, you connect the 12 volts. So if I had this timing tool, you'd connect 12 volts to the B terminal, which is the third one from the right. And that tells the module, don't use the internal timing curve. Don't use this 0 to 13 to so-and-so. Use the signal from the computer to run the car. And this got a very elaborate timing curve that's got load and RPM, all kind of factors that go into the timing from the computer. So what they use this other timing curve for, the 0 to 1500 and then up to about 13 degrees, is what's called limp home mode. So if your computer died, the digital side of the computer crapped out and died. And this is back in technology from like 1987 to about 1995. If the computer digital side of it died and quit working, the module would take over with its internal curve. That signal on the B terminal would drop. The module would then revert back to its internal timing, and you would get this rudimentary 13 degrees advance above 1500 RPM. And that was your limp home timing. And that was enough to get you, it was enough to help the motor have enough power to get you home. And it also had the computers also happen to have a built-in analog fuel mode, and it was run off a chip called a NetRes, a network resistor. And it was just analog based on resistors in the system. And that was a backup fueling mode from the early General Motors computers. I don't think they have it anymore, but back then, if the digital side of it died, the digital logic side, the chip died, it would revert to an analog fueling system, and the module would take over ignition on its own. It wouldn't even have to have the computer connected to it. And that was what's called limp home. So you really shouldn't use this in a boat. Let's say you decide to use a car or truck module in a boat. So I just mentioned you get 13 degrees flat timing. Okay. So what that would mean, if you wanted, say, 30 degrees of total timing, you would subtract 13 from that, and what is that? 17. So that would leave you with you would need 17 degrees that needs to be added by the distributor to that 13 to get the total timing of 30. So that means your initial setting on this particular distributor would have to be 17 degrees, not these low numbers, but it had to be 17 degrees. So if you set the initial timing to 17 degrees, this car module with the limp home system might work, but it's going to kick in hard at 1500 RPM, and I'm not sure how the engine would respond to that. So again, I would just stick with the marine version. One other thing about the marine version. So if you'll notice, this initial value of 10, and I believe this is correct. I'm gonna have to verify this, but I believe it's correct. So when you crank this engine, it tries to start with this initial value of 10 degrees. Only once the engine is running, and it's running at a higher RPM than stable, does it switch over to this 19 at 600 RPM. That's really important. So when it's cranking at about 200, maybe 300 RPM, and it's using the 10 degrees, and then once it's running, it switches on up here to the 19, or whichever table you're on. This module can't do that. So like I was saying, if you need a total of 30, and this adds 13, you got to start at 17. This module will be starting at 17 degrees. That's kind of rough on a starter. If the engine tries to kick back, because it's got too much timing at starting, and it will fight the starter trying to turn the motor over. Once it's running, it's okay, but these modules are not good for starting because they put a little bit too much load on the starter. Again, you might could get by with it in a marine application in a pinch. Let's say you had an extra spare car or truck module you could keep in your boat in case this one went bad. But if you got a GM module, you're probably not gonna have that problem. I have yet to see a GM module go bad in all the ones I've seen and used. Even the old ones, even when it's 20 years old, they still work. But that could be an anomaly. I maybe just haven't found a bad one yet. So, but again, I don't trust these non-General Motors modules. I will not use them. And so again, that's a car or truck module. You might could get by with it in a pinch. I personally would use the marine version, do it right, so it starts with the right timing, and then it'll run with the right curve. So this has been quite a long video. It's already up to about 22 minutes, and but I think it's needed to explain how the General Motors marine module works. And if you have any questions, put them in the comments. And if they get too deep and too complex, I'll do another video to try to explain it better. All right. Well, I hope that helps everybody. Thanks for watching, and subscribe to my channel, and keep buying my kits. I appreciate everybody who's bought them so far, and I'm still selling them. And I'm going to start including a special gift in my kits in the very near future, and I'll put a video out for that special gift when I get it. Right now it's in beta testing. A couple of customers have gotten one, and they said they love it, so I'm going to start selling it, or I will start adding it to this kit for a small nominal charge, and I'll start selling that special tool also separately on my website and my YouTube channel. Again, thanks for subscribing, and have a good night.